Who else remembers the original Fushigi Yugi? The story of a girl who is spirited away into a storybook world resembling ancient China, where magic and powers are granted by one of the four gods: the black turtle Genbu, the white tiger Byakko, the vermilion bird Suzaku, or the azure dragon Seiryu. This is the story of the very first priestess that ventured into the book, Genbu Kaiden, translated to English as The Legend of Genbu. The first Fushigi Yugi priestess, a girl named Takiko Ukuda, has recently traveled to Hokkaido with her father Inosuke Ukuda in the hopes of healing her mother, who has fallen ill with consumption. The story is set in Japan in the year Taisho 12. This would be the year 1923. This would also be around the time in which Disney's The Princess and the Frog is set. Not the year it came out, the year the story takes place. A fairy tale version of the 1920s, but the 1920s nonetheless. And Inosuke Okuda is hard at work transcribing into Japanese an old legend, which we come to know as the universe of the four gods. The book is a spell in and of itself. Now, I don't believe we are ever told its true origin, although I haven't finished the series yet. It's only in manga form. I don't believe there's been any work done on an anime series. And if there has, it's never been released outside Japan or not been made at all yet. The manga series has been finished. Yu Watase began writing Genbu Kaiden in 2003 and finished its 12th and last volume in 2013. Now, the story goes that Takiko gets angry at her father for being a workaholic and ignoring both her and her mother, and tries to tear the universe of the four gods to shreds. Guess what ends up happening? The story is actually more mature and interesting than the original Fushigi Yugi, although not by such a great amount as I've heard some people say, or not for the reasons that you... Here's the interesting thing about calling it mature. Miyaka's adventures as the priestess of Suzaku... Well, I say adventures. Miyaka can barely... If you watch the original Fushigi Yugi, can barely exercise any rational judgment at all, and mostly completely depends on Tamahome and or Hotohori to save her from just about every type of predatory person, demon, and animal imaginable. At least until near the end, where she finally accepts a little more responsibility. Though even then, not that much. And it's funny, she's even clueless as to how useless she is to the end. Although she's not really selfish. She's an interesting character in that kind of sense. And I mean, the drama does pick up with Yui later on. Takiko, on the other hand, fans have called her so much more mature and capable and awesome. Not exactly. That's not wrong, but that's not exactly it either. First of all, she's actually only a year or two older. I thought the book said she was 16. She turns 17 at the very beginning. She's not that much older. She is born in a time where young people would have been more mature by this age. And I mean, even then, not really that much more capable. Although she has a much more level head. And even though she doesn't have a lot of survival skills, or she has some, but that she has A much cooler level head makes such a difference. I think that's really it. I mean, she does have some self-reliance and does fight with the naginata, which a lot of women in the times of the samurai would have some ability in. Because it's far, far better, regardless of the time period you live in or what protection you have, to have some competence in self-defense than none at all. Even Konata Izumi, the ultimate gamer girl and slacker. I mean, if she was a Yu-Gi-Oh! GX character, she would be a slacker. Although she would have better skills. Even she knows about this. She practices. We don't really see her practicing martial arts, but I'm getting off track. Genbu Kaiden is much more a story about Takiko wanting to be wanted, to be needed, than. And when she is asked to become the priestess of the first of the four gods, Genbu, and save the land of, is it Beija? Or is that Byaku's? Hokan. That's something I should point out. Even in the English version, the Storybook? Oh, I think you know. Actually, it would be pretty awesome if Takiko and the Legend of Genbu would make an appearance in, or have an arc in, Once Upon a Time. The Magical World's countries go by their Chinese names, even though the characters go by their Japanese names. The fantasy world is based on ancient China, where the legends of the four animals, the four symbols, the four gods, either originated or may have even been first adopted from even older mythologies in the real world. And they really are based on they're based on carvings, constellations. Very interesting mythology, actually. Now, in the story, not everything is as it seems. Takiko's father has different reasons for what he's trying to do than Takiko thinks, and we'll slowly learn about that. If you read books in English, I say buy the series in English before you try to get Japanese versions, because the volumes have these pages written by the author explaining some things about how she chose to write this and some of the history behind the story, behind her new way of telling the story. That is important. As far as I recall, there's not spoilers. Oh, and if you've not read or watched the original Fushigi Yugi yet, what fans and the author even calls the Suzaku Seiryu arc, I'm actually going to say read this series first. Read Genbu Kaiden first. It's better. And you don't need the original series to understand this story. The original series is actually the last two priestesses. Start here if you're new to the Fushigi Yugi world or are just interested. So the entire Fushigi Yugi Genbu Kaiden manga is finished at 12 books, 12 volumes. I believe that Iwatase is writing the Byaku story, titled Byaku Ibun. I don't know if she'll finish it or not, or if Genbu Kaiden or Byaku Ibun anime will be made. I hope so.